Okay, today is October 6th, 2005. And here I am in Muncie. Made a visit home, see my dad, see my sister. And Amy wanted me to ask you a few questions, Daddy.
Yeah.
She wanted to know about the dairy, a little bit about what you remember about the dairy. And she said...
The dairy?
The dairy. And she said she wanted to know what your brothers and your mom did on the dairy and what you did and any stories that you have about the dairy. Here's a little reminder of the dairy there. It's a little...
What's this?
That's
a creamer.
That's a creamer. That's right.
We put them in restaurants, had little caps for them.
Come here, Shelby. Come here. Hang on, 1 second.
Set those out on the counter with the coffee in the restaurants. We had our name on it. They were quite popular, or they were pain in the neck because they were hard to get good and clean.
Oh, you picked them up from the restaurants then, and did you pick them up from the restaurants?
Yeah. I suppose we lost a lot, but they picked up what they had. I mean, what they left us.
There we go.
Yeah. My dad started the dairy. He had a 12-quart route, and he delivered. He had 12 customers or less, depending on what they took. So that's the way it started, and I don't know what year that was, darn it, but we can trace it. And so he got that going, and Bob and Rex was in-house man. He kept the dairy working, the cows and the milk, and the Bob, he was a salesman. He went out, got out and got the restaurants and people like that, and we just kind of grew. We hired a man and bought a truck. And we had maroon and gold colors. The Whitney dairy you see on this little bottle here was I can't put it in there, but anyway, it is the Whitney dairy symbol of the dairy and the tail of the Whitney, and I just grew and grew until we got to be a pretty doggone good sized dairy, and a dairy is awful hard work, and you have to be so careful with it. You got a product that's going to spoil on you, and we worked, and I didn't have much to do with it. I was too damn lazy to chasing airplanes, and my brothers used to get so mad at me they could kill me. But anyway, it worked out both ways. I got my flying, and they got their dairy and got it sold and went their different ways. So that worked out good. Whitney Dairy.
Now, I remember a story of the milk cart getting stuck in the snow.
The what?
The milk truck getting stuck in the snow one time and had to be pulled out. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I think it was the winter of '35. We had terrible winter, and it drifted there just south of the orchard out on the highway there. That line of fir trees. I don't know if you remember them or not. And that'd get stuck every time, and Rex would get the team out, and away they'd go. Had to have horses to move them because the cars just couldn't get around. It was so deep and so slick. Rex was a wheel horse. I'll tell you, Rex was a worker. He was. No wonder he called me a lazy so-and-so, because I was. I didn't like that work. I wanted to go flying, and but it all turned out all right. Everybody got their wish. We finally sold the dairy. I believe we sold it to Cavalts, or they sold it, and I'm sorry I can't give you any years on that, because the years didn't mean anything,
Yeah.
But I'm sure you can research it.
Sure. Now, when did you start flying then? When did you learn to fly? When did you learn to fly?
When did I learn to fly?
Uh-huh.
Let's see, I had a great interest in airplanes from just a little boy.
Why? What made you,
Huh?
why? Why did you,
I just liked the idea of flying.
yeah?
You know, some people like apple pie. I like to fly.
Dad, do you remember the first airplane you ever saw and where it was?
Hmm?
Do you remember the first airplane you ever saw?
Yeah, I used to know my first 5 rides, and the air conditioner man was there putting in cold air for the dairy and the cooler and the brine tanks and stuff like that, and he had a little biplane called an Aerosport. I've never seen one since, and he come out and landed down the field there and took me a ride. That was one of my first 5 rides. Then there was an old airport over Silver Fox, they called it, over by Yorktown. They used to raise silver foxes there. A guy named Wirtz, and we flew out of that. It was an abandoned field. I remember sitting on over there. We sat on anything we could sit on, and had gasoline barrels, and I sat on one of them with the cap off of it, and the fumes, come up and burn a place on my body. So I learned not to do that. But I didn't like the dairy at all. I'm a pro worker. I don't like to work. And, but I sure do like to fly, and I always did like to fly.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked out good. I turned out to be a pretty fair pilot, and nobody in the family ever thought I'd mount anything, and they were pretty right.
Did they think you were crazy to wanna fly? I mean, back
yeah,
then.
well, and I was. What are you going to do when you learn to fly?
Yeah, that's true.
There's nothing there. But as it turned out, of course, there was a hell of a lot there, and I always liked airplanes.
Uh-huh.
Just
Dad?
carried on, played with toy airplanes. When I was a little kid, knew all about them, and we had terminals and kids playing, here's Atlanta Flight 24 coming in, and all that. And we had our toy airplanes, and we really enjoyed that, and I was serious about it because, of course, I continued flying and made it a career, and I've been fairly successful at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I flew for many years for Mr. William Bull. He had his own airplane, and he's quite a wealthy man. And so he and I got along pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of everybody thought he was crazy, but he wasn't. I like William pretty very well. He treated me good, and I liked him. I can't. I don't know how many years I worked for Mr. Ball.
Dad, you flew Bob Hope when you flew for Mr. Ball. I remember that.
Bob Hope came through in those